Hello everybody, welcome to So Very Wrong About Games, a board gaming podcast about board games. Thank you so much to the Zero Degrees crew. We are Mark Bigney, the man with the face for podcasting and the voice for blogging, and with me as always is the 8-time winner of Sexiest Man in Kingston-based board gaming podcasting, Michael Walker. How you doing, Walker?
That's me. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing very, very well. Non-consecutive, but you'll get it again next year. So, we are a board gaming podcast about board games, and we're going to be talking about board games. We're going to start off by talking about some of the games we played last week. We're then going to move on to the news and why it doesn't matter. And we're going to close off with a publisher spotlight. Why don't you tell us about that, Walker?
Well, we're going to be talking about the CMYK company that puts out a bunch of games, and then we're going to play a couple of those games, like Lacuna and Figment. They brought out a wide range of games the last few years, some great ones this year, so it'd be great to talk about what their categories are. Their catalog is.
Yes, and this is not sponsored content. We don't do that here at So Very Wrong About Games. We're just fans of the output of CMYK, and we'll flag whenever we're talking about review copies we've gotten from publishers, but in all cases they have no input as to any of our content. We're a little sticky with our editorial rigor here at So Very Wrong About Games. So, with that in mind, we're going to lead off with the games that we played last week. A little bit of discussion about things we've been playing lately, what's been hitting the table. And Walker, why don't you get us started? What have you been playing this week?
We played a little bit of a game called Slay the Spire. This is based off of the computer game Slay the Spire. They did a board game adaptation. They did a great job of adding all the things in, even the map. As you progress through the different levels, you go up and you get to choose. The main difference is there's a huge discussion about what should, why do we need this? Why play this when there's a video game version already? Well, what this lets you do is it lets you play with other players. So you can have your friends around the table, even if they haven't played the game. You can show them your love and appreciation for this very fun video game.
This is actually our game of the year, the year that it came out. And indeed, the addition of that cooperative element is probably the biggest, most substantial change. Because, let's be frank, the digital version of Slay the Spire is basically already a card game. It's riffing on the kind of structures that we in the hobby board gaming space have been doing for quite some time, like games like Dominion, games like Ascension, and of that nature. And Slay the Spire was, I'm not accusing it of being derivative, it's just really brought those elements to the fore. And now, in the computer game space, indie roguelike deck builders are omnipresent. And so this is really coming full circle. A PC game that was building on card game conventions now returning to physical form. But it's not just the addition of the co-op elements that make it so great. Why don't you talk about some of the balancing?
It's the way they adapted some of the abilities, like the actual abilities in the game, into card form to reflect, and it makes you feel as though it's the same sort of ability. And you get to, it's like a deck building game. So throughout, as you go through the levels, you're introducing new cards into your deck that represent all the different abilities that those particular characters have. And even the bosses that come out, there's a way you have to adapt your new cards or cards that you have, or even the abilities of the other characters that are in the game to take down these bosses. So they really did a great job of turning it into its own thing.
Because there's a serious challenge when adapting things like this, right? There are things you can get away with in a PC game that you could never get away with in an analog version. I mean, we all love tracking chits and stuff, but there's a point of diminishing returns. And so instead of having a universe where an attack might do 7 damage, they've all kind of been leveled down into 1. There's been a great flattening of the damage curve, while nonetheless maintaining the overall balance of the feeling. One of the great joys of playing Slay the Spire, the card game, is with people who are familiar with the PC game, looking at it and saying, oh, that's how they did this card. That's how they implemented this effect. That's how they rendered this thing that I'm already familiar with in a new and exciting way. When this initially came up on crowdfunding, my expectations were very low, because, in part because of the publisher. Contention Games hadn't really done much before that. This was their second published design, and this is a mammoth undertaking of more or less all the content of the PC game. And again, there was the overall question of why do we need this? This is just already so close to an analog product, and every experience has just been shockingly revealing about the quality of the design and the durability of this formula. And I can't wait to see where it goes next.
Yeah, for those who know Slay the Spire, they have everything in the game. Like all the characters, all the abilities of the characters, even all the items that you get throughout the game, they have all those represented in a different mechanism that you keep to the side that, changes everything you do. They just did a fantastic job.
Yeah, marvelous upkeep. They've got a really breezy 3-act campaign structure, just like the video game. You're encouraged to be able to pack it away, and you unlock things as you go, just like the PC game. It's really marvelous. We reviewed this when it came out, and we talked about this with Afka from No Pun Included, and everyone is just completely blown away with the success of this iteration. And again, it was a hard job. It was a big mountain to climb, and they did a wonderful job. So people who haven't played the PC game have loved it and then gone on to enjoy the PC game Slay the Spire. The reverse is true. Long-time admirers have played for years. I know people who are A20. For those of you in the know, that's a thing. It's super ultra mega chad in the language of Slay the Spire, who adore the analog version. It's a tremendous experience.
That's Slay the Spire, published by Contention Games and designed by
Gary Dworetzky, Anthony Giovanetti, and Casey Yano.
Mark, what did you play this week?
Well, I got to play a game called Sniper Elite. So this, too, is an adaptation of a video game, but completely different. Like, you couldn't take the video game experience of Sniper Elite and just turn it into a board game. It wouldn't quite work. We haven't quite mastered that kind of visceral nature. And indeed, the visceral elements of Sniper Elite kind of turned me off. I don't know if you haven't much experience with the video game Sniper Elite series.
None at all.
I played it.
I've heard about it. You get the clips, right? Because this was a thing.
Yeah, this was a very unusual experience. When I saw that this was going to be coming out as a board game, I actually tried the Sniper Elite video game a little bit, and I found it kind of ghoulish. I mean, no shade on people who like the game, but there's this mechanism in some of the later ones where if you zoom in on a target, you get personal details about them. I remember one in particular. I was expected to shoot some German soldier, and I'm not squeamish about violence in video games. I'm really not. You're going to have to take my word for it. But it told me that this guy that I was about to dome had been trying to quit smoking for the past 10 years and was really finding it hard. And I'm like, oh, you've just humanized this dude I'm about to murder from 100 yards away.
Young Gustav just came back from leave from his daughter's 3rd birthday.
Yeah.
His first shift back is, walking the wall. That is who you have in your scope at the moment. Pull the trigger when ready.
Yeah, exactly. Now, it's one thing if you wanted to tell a story. This is a bit of a digression, and for what it's worth, if you're at all curious about stuff like this, I have another podcast called All My Best Friends Are Digital, also on the podcast, Yogscast network, on Pickaxe, where we talk about video games, and we go into detail about some of the plot elements and the characterizations and things, as well as mechanics. But anyway, I'm okay with stories, especially about war, that seek to make you uncomfortable, that want to put you in a space of feeling ambivalent or conflicted about what you do. One of my favorite games of all time is a game called Spec Ops: The Line, and it was basically Heart of Darkness, trying to make you very uncomfortable about what was going on. Anyway, but I found this whole, we're going to humanize your targets kind of at odd with the violence porn of the super slow-mo shot of the shell ripping apart some human body. Anyway, again, I'm not immune to the thrill of violence porn, but setting all that aside, the board game version. The thing that initially made me super curious about it was the design team. It was being designed by Roger Tankersley and David Thompson. David Thompson, in my estimation, has produced some of the finest designs of the past 5 years. He's a tremendously talented designer, and his work speaks for himself. And so when I saw that he was going to be adapting it, and more on David Thompson later, I was suddenly intrigued. So the way that they decided to adapt Sniper Elite is in a 1v-all, so one player plays the sniper and everyone else is trying to catch the sniper, hidden movement game. So hidden movement in board games, think classic games like Scotland Yard, or more contemporary versions like the more modern classic of Fury of Dracula that's been re-released about half a dozen times. And the sniper does not show up on the map. So up here on the screen we have one of the marvelous maps. They record things secretly, and everyone else is playing openly. They're the guards trying to catch the sniper. And games of this ilk really live or die on that tension of the sniper trying to sneak past, trying to get done what they need to get done without being caught, and the guards thinking that they know just enough to have a vague sense of where the sniper is, but never enough certainty so that the game gets stale for either party. And that's been one of the hang-ups for a lot of past hidden movement games for me. Not a really good balance of tension and discovery and of frenetic moments of escape and more calm moments of planning. And on top of that, there's always, because of this structure, because one player is playing in secret and everyone else is playing openly, the player playing in secret cannot make any rules mistakes. If they make a single rules mistake, the game falls apart.
But there's a lot less chance of that happening. Like you said, there's been a lot of games that have tried this hidden movement. Scotland Yard, Spectre Ops is another one.
True.
And a lot of these fall apart due to what Mark is just talking about right now, is if there's a mistake made, if one of the characters can see the person that's hiding, but they don't realize it and it messes it all up. Unfortunately, the game breaks down, but in this particular version, it is not likely to happen. They did a great job of making it very streamlined and easy to use.
For one thing, there are no line of sight rules. Line of sight rules can get very, very tricky in board games. Here, it's just about proximity. Are you adjacent to something? That and the map design, we cannot emphasize how much these games can live or die by the map. If the map doesn't lead to a good balance of hiding places and dangerous places, then again, that tension, that fundamental joy of being right on the edge of discovery, both of being discovered and of doing the discovering, can be sapped. And if you don't have that, why are you playing a hidden movement game in the first place? And so it needs to be clean, it needs to be obvious, and it needs to be well designed to produce that kind of experience. And Sniper Elite, for our money, does better than any other game of its ilk by a large margin. There are some expansions. I have purchased some of them. We have a review copy of the base game and the initial expansions. But every time I pulled it out has been marvelous. There have been no game-breaking errors. That may sound like a small thing, but trust me. Think of all the times you've done rules errors. Video games, board games, doesn't matter. You clicked on the wrong thing. You played a card. You didn't anticipate the consequences. You can't have these in games like this. And it moves marvelously. Every map is a joy to discover. Wonderful moments of tension and discovery. Fabulous overall narrative experience.
And then once it's all over, you desperately want to see the hiding person's map, because you get to watch how he deked around this corner and then moved, because it's all plotted on his hidden little card, and you can see how he hid around and ran to the whole other side of the map, and you thought he was over here, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, you want to know, where were you in turn 3? It's like, oh, I was over here. Oh, you're way off where I thought I was. Or you nearly caught me by accident in turn 5, things of that nature.
Yeah. It's great.
Marvelous moments of discovery, both in and after the game. Excellent point, Walker. Although I should note, not all the snipers in the game are male. There's a whole bunch of different snipers with different nationalities and special powers. Maybe not all super balanced against each other, but nonetheless interesting to play around with. So that is Sniper Elite, my favorite hidden movement game based on the video game series, about which I have some misgivings.
Next up, I brought Tidal Blades back to the table. This is one of those campaign games that you see on crowdfunding, 6 of them at all times. You take a party out adventuring and you fight monsters, you level up, and you get toys, level ups, more stats, you get more powerful, and you fight stronger monsters. And this just does it very well. You have this grid nexus where you're playing cards, and as you advance in levels, you get better cards. And you play it in this 3x3 9 square nexus, and wherever you play it, you're going to run either the column or the row, and you slowly build that up. As soon as you complete one, you have to clear it, and then you get to do all of the stuff in that column or row, and then it's moving, fighting, attacking, chaining, and you're rolling dice. It is so colorful. It says Tidal Blades 2 because they had a standard board game before this where it was just move around the map, build up your dice pool, and fight monsters. I really need to get that to the table again as well. This has the great map book system. So it has two spiral bound books that you turn to pages and put them together, and the map's already there for you. So it's not like a Gloomhaven where you're spending time putting out all these tiles trying to build a map. You just open the book and you're ready to go. They have a nice standee version. There's also miniatures you can get as well. It is just a very interesting game. Like I said, it's the very tropical sort of area. There's docks and boats. It's very water based. All of the characters, there's a couple of some humanoids, but all of them are sort of aquatic animal based. You have your turtles and your
actually they're humanoid if they're human shaped.
Okay, sorry.
The first question that anyone asks when considering a new game is, does it have a sapient axolotl? To which the answer is, in Tidal Blades 2, yes.
Of course. And he is awesome. He is the magic user, and he pops around and nukes people quite nicely. So anyway, yes, lots to do. huge campaign to go through. Extra stuff. Title Blades 2.
Whether you're a jaded dungeon crawl type game enthusiast or not, whether this is your 100th or your first, there's a lot to be said for a kind of quick and clever activation sequence. Sort of something cool that drives your character rather than just, I get to move and then I throw some dice to do some damage. And that's one of the reasons why I love that grid system that Walker was talking about. That 3x3 grid really forces you to plan out how you're going to do effective turns, setting yourself up for really, really consequential actions later, about making sure that you're laying the groundwork for future stuff, and also just cycling the cards properly, right? You have these powerful effects that you cannot use all the time because they're going to be sitting on the grid until they wipe. And so you're being pulled in different directions, and you can just play on autopilot. Just put a card, activate the longest row, and you'll get things done, but it also allows you to set things up in a slightly more combo way. And the other big bugbear of stuff like this is the setup. And as Walker says, there's an increasing push in a lot of these games, and indeed, Gloomhaven has a version. Gloomhaven is by all accounts, and indeed probably our favorite as well, one of the greatest dungeon crawlers ever released in the board game sphere. There's a PC version as well. And the setup time in the base version is onerous. Worth it, but onerous. They made a sort of intro version called Jaws of the Lion. So Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, it's available at big box stores. And instead of having a whole bunch of cardboard tiles that you need to put together, they use a spiral-bound book where you just open up to the relevant page. That's the scenario, and you're almost ready to go right away. And that's great. We want as many games as possible to do this, because we've been arranging tiles to set up dungeon scenarios for a long time. If you've done any tabletop role-playing, you know the benefit of being able to use pre-done maps. Having to draw or lay out all this stuff can be very time-consuming. Worth it on occasion, but not the kind of thing you want to have to do each and every time. And Title Blades 2 Rise of the Unfolders definitely represents a lot of those modern conveniences. Of those, I'm a huge fan.
Speaking of modern conveniences, here on the screen you can see they have a great initiative track. Depending on what card you're going to be adding to your board, it's going to tell you that your initiative is either going to stay the same or go up and down. So you simply move the tokens, and every round the monsters also flip cards, and you move the tokens up and down, and then you start from the top and go down. And here you also have the damage for all the monsters. So this is a problem in almost every game. How much damage does that skeleton have left? Does that goblin have any hit points left?
Are you the person that they always ask?
That's not me. That's not me. I would never do that. But some people I've heard
the number of times where Walker has the card right in front of him and says, "Mark, how many hit points does the skeleton have left?"
So what this game does is it has these very useful colored bases that you put on all the monsters, and they correspond to the colors that you see on the board here. And you track their health here, so at a simple glance, you see there's the beige monster there. Beige monster has 6 hit points left, and then you're good to go. Great game. Title Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders.
I don't want to yuck your gum, but I mean, I do like all these clever bits. I don't know how well it hangs together, though. Admittedly, I have only played 2 scenarios, but that clever activation sequence, coupled with a lot of those conveniences of tracking and setting up, it didn't really lead to what I would call a transformative or particularly interesting gameplay experience. It was mostly just move to the monster, hit the monster as hard as you can, and then maybe the scenario tells you that more monsters spawn at regular intervals. I mean, it's okay, but I think that a lot of it is about the charm of the world. You're either charmed by the world or you're not, and you already came to Title Blades 2 completely sold on the setting of Title Blades. And Title Blades doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot for me.
They do have a whole role-playing system as well.
Oh, that's true.
Very interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering if later on, I keep falling away from it because having to play other games. So I'm hoping with the new cards, there's giant decks of cards that you're going to be adding in. So I'm wondering once you advance your deck to a certain function, it'll get more interesting.
Well, that's one of the elements of sort of modern design conveniences that's the kind of the other half of the double-edged sword, because modern dungeon crawl games or adventure games or combat games of this ilk tend overwhelmingly to be campaign games. And the problem is, if your early scenarios aren't particularly good, well then, maybe scenario 8 is super awesome. Maybe by the time you've unlocked your character's ultimate or whatever, things get really cool. But I don't want to have to go through.
Yeah, this falls into that. It's like, well, at scenario 4, you finally get to go back to town and start buying toys.
Yeah.
And doing other things. But it definitely is like a progression type of thing. It throws you into episode 1. It's just you, your character, and a fight. And then episode 2, you get your goal cards. And just throughout, the different, as it goes along, it introduces new stuff. So
Yeah.
probably for, first time players, it's very good. But for veterans, like you said, you want to see the game right away.
Yeah, and there are a couple of different ways you can do this. One of them is the way that Oathsworn did this, which was another huge Kickstarter full of miniatures and a sort of adventure game thing. And what it did was it just said, look, pick any... You can do the campaign. You can do Scenario 1, then Scenario 2, then Scenario 3. But when you're doing Scenario 6, everyone is level 6. So if you want to jump into Scenario whatever, you can do that and just make everyone that level. It was very simple, very straightforward, very easy to drop in, come out. It wasn't a social obligation. Doing a campaign was not like herding cats. Not everything needs to be tabletop role-playing. We don't always have to make sure that all 4 people are necessarily there, and if somebody's got to go for soccer practice, everyone's hosed and we have to delay. That's one alternative. The other alternative is, I don't know, have you heard of a game called Slay the Spire?
No.
Yeah. So another alternative is to do it the version where you're not leveling up between scenarios, you're leveling up inside the scenario, right? You're expected to all start at roughly the same position, and over the course of a single session, you get more powerful, and that's what a campaign looks like. And for what it's worth, if you find yourself intrigued by the notion of a 20, 30 scenario arc, absolutely. Now is the time to get... There are so many games you can choose from, and I think you can do a lot worse than Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders. But if you're interested slightly more in a one-shot experience, well, then there are lots of games that have you covered there, like, for example, Slay the Spire, or even some other dungeon crawl type stuff.
So Tidal Blades 2 is designed by Tim Elsner and Ben Elsner and put out by Druid City Games.
Yeah, the Eisners have done some interesting work. They were also involved in Wonderland's War, which is a pretty cool game as well.
Agreed.
Next up for me, I'm going to be talking about Imperium. Now, I realize this is a bit irresponsible as a broadcaster. In the past 5 years, there have been roughly 7 or 8 games released with Imperium in the title. And probably by the time I finish the sentence, there'll be 3 more. In particular...
Speaking of which, the company that put out Slay the Spire put out Imperium the...
Imperium the Contention, that's why they're called the Contention games. Fortunately, in this case, unfortunately, Imperium the Contention is super out of print, so you're not going to get confused over it. I do recommend it, though. There's a very popular deck-building worker placement game called Dune Imperium, based on the Dune license. It's very, very popular. It's got a couple versions and a bunch of expansions. We're not huge fans of it. It's fine. But this is an entirely different game. So this is Imperium. Unhelpfully, there are 3 versions of it. They're all standalone games, but they're all integrable with each other. So you can start in any set, and you can use any set to add to your collection. It's not blind buy or anything. It's just there's a whole bunch of different factions, and you can get whichever factions you want and play with whichever ones you want. There's Imperium Classics, Imperium Legends, and this one, Imperium Horizons, the most recent one, which is really huge when compared to the past ones. The past sets each had 9 different civilizations, like you could play as the Romans, you could play as the Egyptians, you could play as the Greeks. Then Legends started introducing slightly more fantastical ones, like you could play as the Atlanteans, you could play as King Arthur and King Arthur's court, and go on quests and things. Imperium Horizons has really blown the spirit up. There are 19 civilizations in Imperium Horizons. And credit where credit is due, a lot of these are not the traditional Mediterranean Western culture civilizations. And so, yeah, you've got the Greeks, the Romans, and the Egyptians, but you've also got a whole bunch of African civilizations. You've got a whole bunch of Far East civilizations as well. And I really appreciate that they've just, for the sake of variety, if nothing else, decided to cast a slightly wider net from the traditional formula. I find the topic of civilization games fascinating, and indeed, Walker's going to have to probably cut me off before going too long, because most people are probably familiar with the Sid Meier civilization games, and that's kind of the PC game, video game mold of what it is to be a civilization game. And that has had some influence on the board gaming space as well. There have been a whole bunch of licensed and kind of non-licensed riffs on the Sid Meier civilization mold. And those are more or less, and I do not say this with any amount of judgment, elaborations on a troops on a map formula. You've got technologies and you've got government, you've got structures and stuff, but that's so you can leverage force and you go out and you conquer your enemies or you make diplomatic deals with them. So it's more in the sort of broad genealogy of a game like Risk. However, there was a game published in the late 70s which predates the Sid Meier Civilization games called Civilization by Francis Tresham. Imperium Horizons isn't in the mold of Imperium, of either of those 2 civilizational modes. And that's one of the reasons why I find it so fascinating. It really does its own spin on the civilization game. Now, it's a card-based deck builder, so similar to Slay the Spire, deck building game. And you acquire new cards, like you develop new technologies or you found new cities. But what's super interesting to me as somebody with a certain passing armchair interest in history is that it's got this sort of phased structure. Most civilizations, I should say, I apologize, start off as barbarian kingdoms, as sort of generic free tribes, and that allows them certain degrees of flexibility, a certain degree of tools in their toolkit. But there are certain things that they're not going to do. They're not going to develop money lending, for example. They're not going to develop more sophisticated or contemporary, contemporary from the sense of centuries old technologies. They will transition to an empire, and that transition might be difficult. It might be easy. It might be earlier for some, later for others. And this is just a really cool way of allowing for the ebb and flow of different modes of cultural development, as opposed to a lot of other civilization games or of whatever stripe, where you start out as Caesar, the immortal god king, and you're going to be fielding legions for 5,000 years of recorded human history. And sometimes those legions will be in tanks, and sometimes those legions won't be, but that's more or less the only difference. Which leads to another cool bit about Imperium Horizons. There are no immortal god kings. If there's going to be a particularly consequential figure, whether it's Caesar or Mansa Musa or whoever, they're going to show up, they're going to do what they do, and then they're going to go into your history pile, which still scores at the end of the game, and there's a lot of consequential things that happen in your history pile, but you don't have this weird ahistorical kind of divorced what's going on here kind of vibe that you sometimes get from these immortal god kings. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind being an immortal god king. That can motivate me sometimes, but I really like the way the Imperium games kind of riff on this overall mold. This is a design team of David Surtse and Nigel Buckle. They also did a really impressive, super heavy space game called Voidfall, which was our game of the year last year. And Imperium is not a system that I'm able to whip out even as often as Voidfall, because many people assert, with some good reason, that is at its best solo. It's got a very, very rigorous solitaire mode. There's not a whole lot of player interaction. Most of the time, when the other civilizations are doing their thing, you're just going to be planning your next turn, or possibly letting your mind wander, or in extreme cases, when someone is pulling off the endless combo, maybe your spirit's going to leave your body, and you're just going to go on a little ethereal walkabout. That's one of the reasons why Walker's not a huge fan of the system, because when we've played it 2-player, we've played it 3-player on occasion. I defend Imperium. I am happy to play it at any player count short of 4. I'll play it solo or with 2 players or with 3. But Walker tends to have less patience for multiplayer solitaire games of this nature than I do. Is that a fair characterization?
It is, 100%.
Yeah. Do you have any, or have you purged your memory of all recollection of playing the Imperium games?
No, I can see its allure. You know, it's a very heavy. You got to make sure you understand what you're getting into.
Yep.
And I know I don't want to say, it's the exact same thing, but they use this sort of skeletal form to make a Star Trek game as well. That's gaining a lot of popularity as well.
Yeah, Star Trek Captain's Chair. We did not like that version at all.
No, yeah, it's the same sort of way the cards manipulate the table space, but, with a few changes. But this one, a lot going on, and I love the artwork as well. It's very interesting.
Yeah, the artist is called the Miko. I really, really like it. It's very cool. He's got a very distinctive style. Just as a note, one of the Star Trek Captain's Chair version of this, one of the reasons why we reacted to it so badly, there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't like the mechanical changes they did for the Captain's Chair version, but also Walker and I are 2 very different kinds of Star Trek fans. We actually kind of represent a complementary set. Like, Walker has had more enthusiasm for New Trek than I have. Walker's all about the Dominion War. Walker's a lot about that. Not that you have disdain for other stuff, but I'm strictly a original series and Next Generation guy. And neither of us felt that the Captain's Chair version felt like Star Trek at all. Like, what we were doing felt so far divorced from all the sort of thematic and mechanical touchstones that we might expect from a Star Trek game. And so we found the retheming desperately unsatisfying. And as a huge fan of Imperium Horizons and the system, I didn't like the mechanical changes either. It took a game that was already pretty complicated and pretty complicated but clean, is what I'd say. It introduced a whole bunch of weird edge cases and strange keywords that were trailing all over the place. And it felt like you were managing a super weird blue magic deck, and you had to remember how everything worked in conjunction or it was going to fall apart. And so I was very disappointed by Star Trek Captain's Chair. I'd actually forgotten about it. Thank you for reminding me about Star Trek Captain's Chair.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, so now I've got tons of civilizations in the Imperium setup. It's a fabulous game. I think it shines at 2-player. I really do think it's great with 2 players. You get to investigate twice as many civilizations when you're doing that way. You get to see how they interact with each other, which admittedly is not a huge thing, but is something there. And this design duo of Buckle and Circe, I cannot wait to see what else they've got up their sleeves, because this is a marvelous design. And I just desperately want to see this product line supported, and I'm also really curious about what else they do in the future. That is Imperium Horizons, also Imperium Classics and Imperium Legends. My advice is, if you're interested in the series, start with either Classics or Legends, and pick the one with the civilizations that seem the most interesting to you, or whichever one's available. All of these games, by the way, that we've been talking about, with the exception of Tidal Blades 2, are in print. They're available. You can find them. Tidal Blades 2, I think you might have to go hunting on the secondary market a little bit. But I love my listeners, unlike Walker, so I do not want you to suffer. I just want Walker to suffer. So, those are the games we played last week. Now moving on to
some news and why it doesn't matter. Mark.
Yes, Walker. That is my name.
We talked about Slay the Spire, believe it or not, a little bit.
I don't remember that.
And so Slay the Spire has another Kickstarter out now. So no doubt you can go and get the game again. So this is the usual format for crowdfunding now for board games, is that they'll have their initial game out, and then, not in this particular case, but as it's fulfilling.
Yeah, exactly. 5 seconds after the first copy is delivered.
They will start a second campaign with an added expansion. So whether it gets some buzz or not, then people are able to invest again in the second printing, and they have to tax something on, so they usually add an expansion. So now we'll have an expansion for the Slay the Spire, and so those people who couldn't get the game because it's pretty well sold out everywhere will be able to get their copy.
Are you familiar with the Downfall expansion, Walker?
I am not.
So this is a fan-made module for the PC game. There are a bunch of fan-made mods, but Downfall, I think it's safe to say, is the most popular. In it, there are a whole bunch of new characters. Among them, the bosses of the base game.
Oh, wow.
I've not played it myself, but I have some reports from some of those aforementioned Slay the Spire Mega Chads, the A20s, that it's very wild, a little all over the place, not as balanced or as clean as the base set. So, for example, anyone who's familiar with Slay the Spire, the base game classes, can tell you that the Watcher is the most involved in terms of the various mechanisms, the way she cycles through different stances, and how various cards work very different ways depending on what stance they're in. And one of the many tremendous successes of the board game is they made the Watcher more playable. And so one hopes that the design team at Contention Games are going to be able to work the same miracle for Downfall and take things that, even their enthusiasts admit is a little bit sprawling, a little bit all over the place, and tighten it up the way they do with everything with the board game. I'm super enthusiastic to see what they're going to do.
I'm enthusiastic that more people will be able to get their copies of Slay the Spire.
100%. It's expensive, but oh my goodness, it's worth it. There's so much content, and it's so well done. Yeah.
Our next bit of news.
So this is Azure and Moitura. This is also up on Kickstarter, but this is funding right now as opposed to the Downfall expansion to Slay the Spire, which is going to be coming up later. So these are some 2-player games that are going to be published by Bitewing Games, which is a publisher that does a lot of interesting stuff. One design is Azure. This is designed by Trevor Benjamin and Brett J. Gilbert. And this is a design team that did a 2-player game called Mandala, which is really cool and clever. The artwork for Azure is also going to be done by friend of the show, Kwanchai Moria, who's, I think, one of the best artists working in board games today. And I'm super enthusiastic about that. This is a great design team with a great pedigree, a great publisher, a great artist, all about that. 2-player games are sometimes hard to get to the table, but this is part of a line of products that Bitewing has put out for 2 players. So the previous 2 titles were Iliad and Icar. We tried Icar. Walker enjoyed it. I did not, but I do not like those kinds of that kind of game. It's like a positional abstract. More on that later. We'll be talking about Lacuna. But anyway. And the other design is Moitura. This is by Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson. And the aforementioned David Thompson, I talked about him a little bit. He was one of the co-designers of Sniper Elite, the board game. And this design team of Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson have put out a truly astonishing number of truly excellent titles. I will focus on one, the entire Undaunted series of games, starting with Undaunted Normandy, moving on into North Africa and Reinforcements and Battle of Britain. It is a super clever, again, deck building game. We seem to keep going back to deck building games. It's a very, very prevalent series, but here we have the things they've done together as well. They did War Chest, which, again, not to my taste, but very, very popular series. I am a huge fan of Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson, and so Moichura is a 2-player game that they're putting up. I have pledged for this, so I'm putting my own money up to back these games. I am very enthusiastic to see what happens. These are some very talented people, and I have very high hopes for what they're going to be putting out. I hope I'm not disappointed. It's crowdfunding. I always will be.
Next up, we have a game coming out right now. It's called Ants. This is another game by Cranio Creations, who have brought us Barrage, another great game. And I have this mostly here because there was a game that came out very recently called Rats of Wistar. And the same artist, different designers, but the card layout is so similar that I was for sure that it was just a sort of re-skinning of Rats of Wistar. But it does look like the board is different and the player boards are different. So I think it's going to be a much different game, even though all of the cards, the layout is completely the same.
Wow, you're not joking. Normally, when you see that level of commonality amongst design layout, it's by the same designers. Like if you look at the Garfield games, for example, or indeed a lot of the games of Simone Luciani, right? They use, Simone Luciani, when he uses a lightning bolt, he means the same thing in every game he designs.
That's
right? And I don't know if this is Cranio trying to impose a consistency, or if just the graphic designer has decided to try to impose some sort of regularity, or what. But you're right, that's an uncanny resemblance.
But the board is definitely different. In Rats of Wistar, it has this
definitely.
very interesting sort of wheel system. You're moving your workers around the wheel, and depending where the wheel you're picking those actions. And the more mice you have there, the stronger the action. And there's
I thought they were rats.
Rats, sorry.
Or
rats.
are you mice? Are you fighting the rats? This is all confusing.
It's very much based on The Secret of Nim. It's very much that you're mice or rats creating all these different contraptions, and you're sneaking into the farmhouse, trying to stay away from the cat. In Ants, it's more, you're out in the outdoor, no wheel anymore. You also have a player board that has Tetris-like polyomino pieces that you're fitting together. So there's more likely that I'll pick this up too. Both of these are a little heavier Euro-style type games, which I tend to gravitate towards.
Are you an ant guy, Walker? Some people are ant guys.
No, not really.
Yeah. My good friend Woogie is a huge ant guy.
I'm more of a mantis guy.
Okay. Going out into Blades of Glory is what you're saying.
That's right.
All right, next up, we are going to be talking about a somewhat less mainstream project called Great Helm. So, a few years ago, there was a tabletop miniatures game, so think Warhammer and Warhammer 40k in that kind of broad vein, called Demonship. And what this was very much in the style of Doom. So, science fiction, but you're fighting demons. And this was a very super indie project designed for one player, designed by Malev Shinobi, which I assume is what we would call a pseudonym. But I don't know, maybe that's his given name. I'm not going to judge. People can call themselves whatever they want to call themselves. At any rate, it had a really interesting initiative system. It did cool things with dice, and it was all, they sold STL files, so if you had access to a 3D printer, you could 3D print all the terrain, and it was just a very small, compact solo experience, not a sort of a sprawling all-day affair with 2 players like you might expect for a lot of tabletop miniatures games. And very affordable, given the relatively low component count, especially if you had access to a 3D printer. I've got a friend by the name of the Handwerker. Well, that's not his name, but that's the alias we give him here on the show because we value confidentiality. Like, for example, I never let my face show up on the internet, Walker.
Never.
Yeah, never. And you swore to protect me.
You're totally blurred out.
Yeah, and you put Jude Law's face
yes,
over. Yeah.
We agreed.
Okay. Yeah, anyway. So, the Handwerker made me a glorious set of Demonship. I really love it. It's fabulous. It's in a little tin with magnets. Everything's better with magnets. You gotta do. Anyway, so Malev Shinobi, indie miniatures war game designer. His next project is called Great Helm, and the hook is so compelling. The hook is you play the entire game on a single sheet of A4 paper. That is the terrain. That is the battlefield. You don't need a 6 foot by 4 foot table. You don't even need a 4 foot by 4 foot table. You need an A4 sheet of paper that's printed out. If you want to put terrain on it, you can. Sure, fine, go ahead. And you only need like 4 to 6-ish knights per side. And they're just knights. They're just knights on foot. Like a lot of people say, bring whatever miniatures you want. You have access to a bunch of miniatures. Well, often you don't.
Something lying around.
Yeah, you might have something lying around, but it might not fit like the specific theme of like space pirates or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure you got a Risk game you can rip some soldiers out of.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of Heroescape Knights from back in the day that I can use for this. Anyway, so this is a miniatures agnostic rule set about knights on foot fighting on a literal sheet of paper. So I read bits of the beta rules. The beta rules are already available, and it's a super interesting initiative system. You roll a die for every figure you've got to a minimum, and that slots in the initiative slot, but you can only do certain kinds of actions based on what the initiative slot is. So if it's super high, you get to act super early, but you can't do whatever you want. Like, for example, a power attack is all the way down at 1. But you can always degrade an initiative die. When it's a unit's turn to activate, you say, okay, the 6 is turning into a 5. And then later that 5 can turn into a 4, etc. And that alone, I love clever initiative systems because, again, so often in miniatures games of all nature, you just roll off, and whoever rolls better gets to decide who goes first, and then you just alternate for the rest of the game. That's fine. It works. But clever initiative systems are cool, and this is a clever initiative system combined with a clever activation system, and that is catnip to me. I love stuff like that. So there is, in traditional wargaming rules fashion, a pledge level for just digital PDFs. It's a little more expensive than such things often are at 20 American bucks, which, but whatever. He's done good work before. I'm willing to support Malavda Shinobi. You can get a printed version of the book for 15 more American dollars, but I'm just going to go straight digital. I'm super looking forward to giving this a try. It's in, as I say, it's in beta right now. I think I'm going to wait until the finalized version is up before giving it a shot. And just the notion of being able to carry an entire tabletop miniatures wargaming experiences in a tiny little box is just very appealing to me. That's Great Helm by Malavda Shinobi. I highly recommend Demonship if you're at all inclined.
And that's the news and why it doesn't matter. Now we're going to talk a little bit about CMYK in our grand finale here.
A grand finale?
Well, I don't know. We got to play it up for the thing, right? They're doing the thing. We got to make sure it's like this big. I got the fireworks, Mark. We're setting off the fireworks.
Why do you lie to these fine people on the internet that came to watch us babble like idiots?
All right, so CMYK.
So mean.
First game that they put out that we played, at least that I played, was Monikers. They teamed up with Shut Up and Sit Down and did a version of Monikers. It's sort of like a advanced charade type game with other categories.
Well, it is literally the boxed version of a party game called Celebrities. So in Celebrities, as a party game, you write down names of celebrities, and then you try to get your team to guess whatever it is that is written on the card. And it doesn't have to be celebrities, it can be anything, really. The first round, you can do or say whatever you want. Second round, you reuse the same one so everyone kind of remembers what they are, but then you're not allowed to speak. You just have to pantomime. And then in the third round, you're only allowed to utter one word. And did you have any experience with Celebrities before playing Monikers?
I did not.
Neither did I. What's your thought on Monikers?
I remember the one time I played it many years ago. It was very interesting and fun because the categories that we had, the cards that we had, were relevant. Unlike some of the cards that you get today.
Yeah, the structure is great. Look, Celebrities is great fun. Charades is great fun. I mean, traditional party games, traditional parlor games tend to stick around for a reason. Like, we love euchre, we love traditional games of all types. And I've had great fun playing traditional parlor games. I just felt that Monikers was it had a number of strange included cards. And with the set, I don't own a set, but my friend El Scandalo has a set. And every time we play with that set, there's like one or two cards where no one knows what it's referring to. It's like a strange reference to an out-of-date thing. Maybe it's because it was published 10 years ago originally, or a strange internet culture thing that has aged badly. Like, I don't know what it is to poop on mute. I don't think this is because I'm really old. I know what the Fox says, and that's roughly of the same period I'm told. I don't know. Whatever. So, personally, I hate to say this, But this is foreshadowing because I think the rest of the things I'm going to have to say about CMYK will be more or less universally positive. I'm not a huge fan of what CMYK has done with monikers as a product line. I would rather do the version where you just have a whole bunch of cue cards and people write down stuff that everyone in the group gets. So there you have it.
Next big one, I think the biggest one that we saw when it came out would have been Wavelength.
Absolutely. And this is the first review copy we ever got from CMYK. Tell us about Wavelength, Walker.
I think I'd say it's not social deduction, it's a party game. And there'll be a question, and I think it goes into like degrees. So what's a question that it would be in the game would be... Well, what's someone likely that they would rob a bank or something like that?
Sure. How likely someone is to rob a bank. It's something that implies a scale.
Oh, here's a card. Right here. What does this card say? Oh, how close are they to dictatorship or democracy?
Ooh, Walker. Why we gotta make things relevant? That's bad. Anyway, and so then one person gets to see on the wheel where the...
There's a better one.
Yeah, here we have unsexy Pokemon versus sexy Pokemon. Ooh. And so there's this colored area of the wheel that only the clue giver can see. And what they want to do is they want to think of something on that scale that will lead the team to guess appropriately in that scale. And so they think of a clue. So here in this particular case, we'd want a Pokemon that's moderately unsexy. I probably would go one of the grass types, I guess.
True. Weeping Bell?
I don't know. Maybe Ivysaur. Okay, because Bulbasaur has too much personality, but Ivysaur maybe. Anyway, I don't know. I used to be the official Pokemon Master of Canada, but my talents have since waned. So anyway, they then hide the wheel, and then people have to try to guess where it is on the wheel. The press copy for Wavelength made me immediately skeptical because the sort of press release and the text on the box talked about how this game was going to make you feel like you were telepathic. That was a specific word that they used, that it was going to induce a kind of like telepathic harmony with your teammate when you got things just right. I mean, they weren't going to promise that it was always going to be easy, but when you get that right clue, and they don't guess near the middle of the line, they guess right in the middle, because everyone's on the same wavelength, if you will. It's the name of the game. I was like, yeah, sure, telepathy, whatever. Add copy. And I'll be damned if that's not true. This is one of the overall things that makes me love CMYK as a publisher so much of the time. Their games seek to elucidate or elicit very, very, very particular social experiences. And then the designs do that. And it's a kind of magic. And I have no idea how they do it. I've been reviewing board games for a long time. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. And Wavelength is structurally similar to a whole bunch of games, like Codenames, like Just One, like a whole bunch of other word games like that. They never make me feel, even when it works, the way that Wavelength makes me feel. And it's that feeling of being in mind meld with your teammates that's utterly amazing. I don't play enough Wavelength. I should play it more, frankly. But it wants large numbers of people and large numbers of equal people. The only serious downside that Wavelength has for me is that the whole structure of one person getting a clue and multiple people guessing at once sometimes isn't great, and the other team doesn't get to do anything during that period. And so sometimes they object to the downtime. But I love Wavelength. I think it's fabulous.
Next up, we can quickly talk about Spots, which I thought was a great. It's not officially a roll and write game, but you're rolling dice. You're trying to fill these cards. It's based on Dalmatians, maybe. All sorts of dogs.
A bunch of spotted dogs.
And it's a great way.
And a cow named Doog.
A great dice manipulation game.
Yeah, this was by Alex Haig and Justin Vickers, who are two people who are stalwarts in the CMYK library, as well as John Perry. John Perry, I have personally labeled the king of small box games. He's done a whole bunch of really cool stuff, specifically the Air, Land, and Sea two-player games, as well as Time Barons and Spots and everything. Yeah.
Well, you see, dogs have spots, you see, Mark. And dice have spots.
Tell me more.
And dice have spots.
Dogs and dice both have spots.
So
among the things that have spots,
so you
two of
place
them are
your
dogs and dice, yeah?
On the right spots.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's oversimplifying things a little bit. It's a bit of a press your luck game. Like, you can go bust, and press your luck games are great. Spots is great. It's a very, very pleasant, not quite as magical as some of the other stuff in the CMYK library, but still highly recommended.
Daybreak.
Yeah, I completely forgotten that they published Daybreak, because Daybreak is not like the rest of their catalog. It's a much more traditional kind of middleweight Euro. And this was designed by Matt Leacock and Matteo Minapace. Matt Leacock is the one who designed Pandemic, which is kind of the forerunner to the sort of modern cooperative boom, with my apologies to Reiner Knizia and Lord of the Rings, but anyway. And Daybreak is a game with a message.
It is. It's all sort of like eco-friendly components in the game as well. It's all about the climate collapsing. It's a cooperative game where you're using real technology, because every card has a QR code that you can actually scan, and it'll tell you all about this specific technology and how it reduces the carbon footprints. And so you're trying to keep things at a certain level and get to a certain time limit before it blows out of control.
Yeah, and it's not just about reducing carbon, although that's a lot of it. A lot of it is also about adaptation. A lot of it is about social technologies and political solutions, not just the sort of, tech enthusiasm for the gadget that's going to solve the climate crisis. It's a lot more practical than that. It's a thoroughly well-researched game. Not all the bits of technology or applications are as practicable as everything else, but in terms of scope, it's really interesting. Yeah, Daybreak's great. If you like co-op games, if you play Pandemic, Daybreak is highly recommended.
Then we have Lacuna that came out after that, but we'll talk about that while we're playing it.
Yep.
Then one of the greatest ones that came out lately is a game called Wilmot's Warehouse.
So good. So this was another instance of, I read the press release, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever you say. Because I have a natural skepticism, even after they've been successful so many times. And they're like, this is a storytelling memory game. You're going to create memorable narratives while matching these silly little abstract-looking symbols. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever.
So like, what you'll do is you'll draw one of these cards, as you can see on the screen here. And the very first one, you're not going to do much with. Or at least this is how we play.
Yeah.
So you see the first one, it'll be like this keyhole or something. There's not much to build on there. So you put it out. And then the second card is the one that is going to steer your story in a certain way.
Yeah.
Right? And so how that one links into the first one. And then you turn that first one face down. But you need to remember what it sort of looked like. Was it a plane, or was it a gear? Who knows? What a keyhole, or was it a train, or was it a headlight? Who knows? And then you sort of tie those together, and then you start building this narrative story with these cards that come out, and there's side stories, and there's Ray Bay. Ray Bay comes. Ray Bay comes, and then Ray Bay needs to get ready. So there's this whole shaving and
hair preparation.
Yeah,
it was a whole thing.
So you start filling this whole board with face-down cards.
I'm looking at this again, and again, like, it's a kind of magic. It's a 7x7 grid of relatively abstract shapes that you're going to put one at a time and put all face down, and then you have to remember where everything is.
Yep.
That's facially impossible. I did not believe that it was possible. But you tell this story, you're encouraged to narratively link together all these ideas, and you form this structure, this architectonic of ideas. They're not abstract pieces anymore. They're characters and actions and events. And by the end of it, I'll be damned if it doesn't work.
Yeah, there's a second set of cards that you divide out to all the players, and you have to put them all on top of your grid
under a time limit,
and then you have to flip them all up, and they all have to match, and they do, they do.
This is one of those things where, I remember bits of Wavelength and feeling the telepathic magic. Every time I step away from Wilmot's Warehouse, I'm like, yeah, it's impossible again. I must have been imagining those past instances of it working. It must be delusional, because my memory's not that great. It's 7x7 grid of abstract pieces. Like, what the hell? It's wonderful.
And as you can also see on the board here, there's days of the week that you're playing on, and there's going to be some weird sub rule that you have to follow. That is hilarious as well.
Wilmot's Warehouse is so good.
Such a great game.
It only shares graphical flourishes with the PC game of the same name. And it also has the same design team. But it's a thoroughly different experience. Wilmot's Warehouse, the PC game, is about organization. And it's a kind of a chill, organizational, kind of putting things in the right place game. Whereas Wilmot's Warehouse, the board game, it's kind of about putting things in the right place. But it's mostly about organizing all this chaos with a narrative that you make as a group. It's amazing. It kind of defies description, frankly.
All right, now they put out a plethora of games this year.
A plethora?
Plethora.
A plethora.
They have the Magenta line, which is it's going to be a bunch of card games. They've put out 4 already. Figment is one that we're going to be playing today.
Yep.
There's also Fives and
Fruit Fight
and
Duos. And these are just great, very quick, easy to explain, very approachable card games that are supposed to be able to break out with family and friends, or at the very beginning or very end of a game session, and they've all been pretty delightful.
Yeah, these first 4 are reprints of games that already existed, but who knows if ones in the future might be originals.
Yeah.
They also put out a game called Magical Athlete that is also a reprint, that is a racing game that's been out before, and then they put out this gem.
So I talked about John Perry, and this is a game called Hot Streak, and
you are degenerate gamblers.
Yep.
Betting on mascot races as they streak across an open field, smashing into each other, running off,
going the wrong way.
Yeah, getting turned around, and you get to bet on them. It is a fantastic. You get to see there's a deck of movement cards for each racer, but they're mixed together. And you get to see this before the 3 races start. So you sort of see how it's going to progress. But everyone is going to add another card to this mess, either hindering someone or helping their racer. And then you're going to deal 3 off the top that won't be in that race. And then you start flipping cards over, and they streak up the field. There's hilarity ensues. People are laughing, cheering, standing up. Standing up and screaming. Yep. This is not something... We've seen it. This happens.
We have seen the most sedate, low-key people get so worked up when Hot Dog fails to clear the finish line in time. Can I tell the SwagCon story?
You can tell the SwagCon story.
So we had a small convention here in Kingston a few months ago during the summer called Congrès over Wrong About Games, Fun Times, Good Vibes Only, Translates a Human Rights Board Game Jamboree. Anyway, and it was filled to capacity, and the floor was concrete, so I was a little bit concerned about noise, because, you want people to have a comfortable environment to play a game. At one point, there were 2 tables simultaneously of a negotiation game called Sidereal Confluence, which is also very good. And we were a little concerned that things might get a little loud. Everything was fine. But every time Hot Streak hit the table, it wasn't a problem, but things got too loud. Every single time. And again, this is one of those things where CMYK puts out a press release and it's like, this is a game where everyone's going to get cheering and laughing. It's like, yeah, sure, guys, whatever. Hits 100% of the time. It is a fabulous game.
And if you're watching this, you can see the fabulous figures. So you get fully painted, large sort of models. Here we use this one here. This board slides out of the bottom of the box.
The racing track.
It's like this rolling thing. So you grab it and pull it out. Has these dials on the side that you can screw it back in. There are the cards. You place your bets and snake like it goes around the table. Yep. Last person takes 2 bets and back around. Then off they go. Great game, Hot Streak.
Tremendous experience. Good for any level of gamer experience. Wonderful. I think so far it's John Perry's masterwork. It is the crowning achievement of a line of truly impressive games from John Perry. John Perry also, for what it's worth, was involved in the making of UFO 50, the video game collection of 50 fake retro games. Him and the person who did Spelunky. They also collaborated on a card game called Time Barons, which we also quite like. Anyway, John Perry, fabulous guy to watch. And with that, with a sort of brief overview of our enthusiasm for CMYK and the experiences that it generates, we are going to show you one of their games. Specifically, Lacuna. Lacuna, of course, being Greek for lacuna. Actually, it's gap. But it is a lovely little abstract game. I just showed you the box.
Soon waiting for the Matata expansion.
Nice. I've been workshopping a version of that stupid crack for years. You nailed it. So this is an abstract game. It comes with this lovely mat. And the first step of setup, actually, is for Walker and myself. This is a competitive sort of abstract game. By abstract, I mean roughly in the vague tradition of like checkers and chess and stuff like that, but very, very loosely. And we are going to move on to the first step, which is take a flower of whatever color you want, Walker. The goal is to win flowers, and you're going to get a flower. So Walker's going to get this lovely orange flower, and I guess I'll take this here blue flower.
I'll call this red.
Just call that red?
Because of this.
Oh, you're right, it is darker. Okay, so my flowers are going to go down here, and Walker's flowers are going to go up here. We take the rest of the flowers, And we put them in this here shaker, and we just distribute them over the map.
A seasoning of pieces, as you were.
Sort of a little garniture. Now, if they go outside the playing area, we just pitch them back in, semi-randomly. And we don't want things to be too clumped, but things appear to be pretty decent. And the goal of the game is to win the majority of 4 different colors of flowers. Now, how do we win flowers? We have these incredibly endearing, chunky metal pieces that represent our playing pieces. And so one of us is going to be gold with these pieces, and one of us is going to be silver. Which one would you rather be, Walker?
I'll be silver.
You'll be silver, okay. On your turn, it's very simple. All you do is you put one of your pieces in a line between 2 flowers of the same color. So it has to be an unobstructed line, and there has to be room. If you do, you then claim both of the wooden flowers that are at opposite ends. You put the piece in the gap, if you will. That's why it's called lacuna. See, it's lacuna. It's a gap. There you go. And then we would get both of I would get both of those orange flowers. So there has to be room, and there has to be an uninterrupted line. So, for example, I couldn't go here and take these 2 blues because there's the pink in the way. Nor could I go here because there's no room between these 2 pink. But this orange, that orange, these 2 red. I apologize. These 2 red would be fine. And that's the basic thrust. Now, after we've all placed our 6 pieces, there's still going to be lots of flowers left on the board. And then what happens is the flower goes to whoever has the closest piece left on the board. So say this is all, the end of the game, and these are the closest relevant flowers. These 2 flowers are closer to my piece, so I would take them. And then after that, after all the flowers have been parceled out, whoever has the majority in 4 colors wins. That's the game. That's it. Now, I am normally averse to games of this ilk called positional abstracts, and indeed I talked about Iker, which is designed by one of my favorite designers, Rainer Knizia, but it's a positional abstract too. They don't really make a lot of sense to me. I'm not a huge fan of them as a rule, but this one I thoroughly enjoy. I mean, for one thing, it's just so pretty. I'm glad it's showing up.
It's so colorful.
It is. It's very colorful, and we get these lovely
setup
pieces.
That took a little while, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Hardly burdensome. There was another recent positional abstract that is similarly easy to set up and almost as visually delightful called High Tide by Marceline Lyman. I recommend that as well. So who's going first, Walker?
I don't know. Let's roll off.
Let's roll off? Okay. These are special dice that never tie.
I got a 2. That's really good, right?
29 is better than 2 Walkers.
Ooh,
so
that's so great.
Okay, I can do this. Every time I play this game, I choke. But I'm not going to choke this time. I'm going to be a winner, Walker. I don't know what to do.
You put a piece in between 2 like colors.
Yeah, thanks, tips.
Well, just saying, it's. I think we just said that it was a lighter type game.
Walker,
and the time you're taking it,
Walker,
it makes it
Walker,
think that people might think it's heavier.
Walker, I get to be stupid on the internet if I want to be stupid on the internet. Okay? If I'm going to look like Jude Law on the internet, I might as well be able to be as stupid as I am.
Double down on that, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, jeez, you're the worst. I do have one piece of advice for everyone on the internet. Never start a podcast with Michael Walker. If you ever have that opportunity. All right, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go between these 2 blue. I'm going to put it here. I don't have to put them equidistant. And then I'm going to snag up these 2 blues.
Well, we both know that these 2 blues are better.
Well, they're definitely darker. All right. Why do I feel like I've already lost?
Because you have.
Oh, I guess that's a reason.
Good feeling. Do you concede? Accepted.
Would you like to fight me now, or are you a coward? I'll take these 2 orange.
What's your call on these 2 reds here, Mark? Is that a legit play, or is that orange in the way?
I'm going to say it's okay because it's technically like from center point to center point, and I don't think that the center point to center point crosses the orange.
All right.
So I'm going to say you're allowed to go there. But I could be wrong. I'm open to the possibility of being wrong. So Walker's got 3 red and 2 blue. I've got 3 lighter blue, call them cyan, and 2 orange. And there again, there's that feeling of rampant inferiority. I hear my mother's voice in my head. All right, I'm going to go here. Yeah, that's the ticket. I'm going to take these 2 sort of tan-colored things. Yeah, you would go for purple, wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah. Let's take these two purple.
Oh, you had to.
Yeah. Had to and did.
Had to and did. Fine, I'll go.
See, despite having correctly explained that the victory conditions rely on getting a majority, I am now seeking to get the greatest variety possible, which is what we call not clever.
So I did. You know, they didn't. They put those games. They have their name on those games. They didn't really put them out though.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, I can't do that. I can't do that. Do I want to do that? No, I don't.
Can you put one so it's between 4? So it's like all.
You have to pick one.
I know. I'm sort of like a rules clarification.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah. If you're at the intersection, if it's the intersection of two different lines, you can only pick one of the two. Are there any such instances on the board?
That's where I was thinking. Where that?
Oh, like here?
Yeah, like
yeah. If someone would here, they'd have to either pick the tan or the pink. But you know what? I'm gonna go there and take the pink.
Do I match you, Merc? Pink for pink?
I'm just Mr. Pink. I'm trying to be professional.
I can go pink for pink.
I do not endorse Mr. Pink's view on tipping, though.
And then
let me be very, or murder for that matter.
And then just try to, and then hope that my token is closer to
which?
To other pieces at the end.
Yeah.
Can I beat you that way? Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, I've got one placement left. Yeah, sure. You know, as the star player, I'm supposed to get a compensatory advantage. I forgot about that. So I'm playing as a handicap.
This is what we call the Bob rule. You see, the teacher of the game. Near the end
I'm explaining.
Just before the scoring, near the end of the game,
only
will pull out a
only
rule.
I'm supposed to start with a random flower to start. It's fine. I'm gonna beat you anyway. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so great. You're not even gonna believe it. I'm gonna go here.
I think you're so
No, I don't
clever.
actually. No, not really. So Clever is a different game. Also by CMYK.
That's what I'm saying. They have their name on it.
Yeah, they're a distributor. CMYK also distributes they have a new version of Quacks.
They did.
They did the new version of Quacks. It was previously called the Quacks of Quedlingberg. Before that,
Taverns of Tiefenhall, same.
Taverns of Tiefenhall, same deal, and the So Clever games.
Can you put me way over there in front of the two dark blues, please?
Whereabouts?
Right, well, by the purple. As
close to the purple as possible.
This way, yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's take the obvious ones. So those two go to you, obviously. This one goes to me. This one goes to you. This one goes to you. The tan will probably have to measure. We're just getting the low-hanging fruit, as it were. These two orange are definitely mine. This tan is mine. This tan is mine. This blue is mine. This red is mine. Ooh, why did I bother?
I'll take this light blue.
And you can take this light blue, and you can
orange.
take this orange. This pink is mine. This blue is mine. This blue we'll probably have to measure, but I think it's mine based on how triangles work.
You take the blue, I'll take the orange.
That's not how these deals work, but sure.
I think it's pretty close.
You're introducing a negotiation variant. The game even comes with this not particularly useful but charming ruler. Looking at it again, I think that this orange is probably yours. Maybe I should have it flipped up in the right orientation, right? That's 9 and a bit. And from you, it is less than that. So here we go. This is yours. The tan, I suspect, will be the same story. Let's call it a 6, and that's way more than a 6. Oh, wait, but that wasn't the issue. It was from here. That's still closer to you. There you go. These 2 are mine, and that's it. So, given that there are 7 of each, I think that's 4 colors for me. I think that's light blue, and so that's
orange and green and pink.
Green and pink.
I only have red, blue, and that's it.
So you have a super majority in blue, but that doesn't give you anything. And then you're orange. So yeah, that's.
I went for that blue at the end, thinking I'd get a bunch over there, but maybe I should have placed it somewhere else.
Maybe you shouldn't have been thinking. That was your problem. I never look. I taught philosophy for about 10 years. I never recommend that people think. It's definitely overrated.
And it's also a pain to put away.
Yeah. So you just dump everything back in the giant canister. The only vaguely tricky thing to put away, frankly, is the lovely board. So I mean, that's the Kuna.
And while Mark finishes that, I will start to show you Figment. So Figment was one of the card games we talked about from CMYK.
One of the magenta line.
Because they come in these lovely magenta boxes, and they're all sleeved, and they all have windows on them, so when they're lined up on your shelf of preference, they will look fantastic. And they all come in these lovely boxes with the rules, little rules envelope in the top, and paper inserts, so like no plastic, which is nice.
And for people who think that graphic design and color choices peaked in the 1980s,
no,
they're set.
Yeah, they got this down in spades. Except there's no spades.
Yeah, spades would be too dull of a color, that's for sure.
So this is our color deck, and this will tell us what color we're thinking is it, the color we're basing it on. So where do we want to place, if it's a blue, where do we want to put blue in the line? We'll look at this card, and we'll have a line of cards like this, and we'll draw this one, and where in this line, with blue being the majority, does that go in?
So the challenge is to arrange them. In this particular case, if we had this card, we'll do it at random. We want the least amount of blue on a card to be over here, and then the most amount of blue on the card to be over here. Yes. So this is just a visual recognition challenge.
Thanks for saying that in English.
No problem. Well, I mean, yours was English too, just in a sort of interpretive order. So let's randomly decide what kind of color we're looking at, and we pull cards one at a time, and we collectively decide where they go. So again, super simple, quick to set up, super easy to understand, and we are going to be, how appropriate, magenta, which is almost but not quite washed out with the light, but it is a very bright magenta. And we're just going to pull cards one at a time and put them in order. And frankly, chat, if you would be so kind as to help us, because I find this game very difficult. Walker's got a better intuition about these things than I do. So the first card is super simple.
Oh, we can't hold it up to the camera.
We can hold it up to the camera like this. Yes. That's fine. So this is the first card. It's pretty simple. Does it have the most magenta of any other cards out? Absolutely it does. There we go. It goes here.
Because there's no other cards out.
Whee! Second card is
we got super lucky on this one.
So now we get this card, and we have to ask ourselves, does this card have more or less magenta than the where do we put it in the line? In this case, because there's only 2 cards, we have to decide if there's more or less magenta. I'm not even going to wait for chat. This one's pretty obvious. We both agree there's less,
yes,
right? Yeah.
It would be the less column.
Now, sometimes you'll notice already that the designs get really weird. Like, this is not a normal geometric arrangement of any kind, but this is just a simple little strip. So we're gonna say with a fair degree of confidence that it goes like this.
We can always hold a card. Anyway, this is the next one.
Okay, I already don't know.
So we're obviously going to compare it to this second one that we pulled out, and we're going to decide whether there's more or less pink in this broken triangle here, because there's a little piece cut out of it.
Walker approaches it with a very geometric eye. Like, he doesn't start busting out protractors and calculating surface areas, but he likes to break it down into primordial geometric shapes in order to get a leg up. I appreciate this. I respect it.
I think it has more than our little cylinder of pink here.
Okay, so definitely less than this. That we...
Yes,
okay.
100%. because it's roughly the same length. But this, of course, has a height to it.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. And it's just I'm so untrusting of my own intuitions when it comes to this game.
And so we have to put 5 of these out, and we don't have to get them in order, but we really want to get them in order.
We would like to. I mean, we want to do well.
And then we have these 5 betting chips numbered just so, 1 through 5. And through the 5 rounds of play that we're going to play, we have to use one of these chips. So we sort of determine how sure we are at our arrangement. And say if we're very sure, we'll probably pick the 5. And then the game is very nice. It will allow us to start at either side. And you start flipping them up and seeing if, they increase or decrease. Depending on what side you choose from, you'll get more points if you get a line of them right. So you always go from where you're most confident side. So anyway, that being said, look at this.
Oh, Walker.
Craziness.
I don't know what to do.
So the whole box around is pink, but it is mostly covered by other stuff. But there's still
the middle line, right?
Yes,
so this middle line, I think we can agree, is more than this.
Yes, I think
so. It's definitely more than this,
and it's definitely more than the next one.
You definitely?
Yes.
Okay.
It's either will fall in there or be the most.
Oh, well, I'm much more confident that it's less than this.
Yes.
I think this has more than this. Pink.
I agree.
If anyone disagrees, let us know. Feel free to call us names if you're inclined. But so far, I think this has been reasonably straightforward. I feel pretty good about these things.
And we can always put these out here, like so. Bring that down a bit, Mark. And these can be the spots when people want a card to drop into a certain slot. They can give us a number until we use it for betting. Yes. So do you want this card to fall into slot 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5?
Well, we don't have to commit between 2 or 3. The issue is,
yes,
yeah. So far, we have one vote for second most, and yeah. I think that's where it belongs. I'm very confident that it's less than this.
That's a lot of pink.
If anything, the problem is the moment they start getting thin and broken up like that, I start to lose track, especially when compared to where it is dense. Like this is dense and all over the place. Solid and all over the place. Relatively thick.
Yeah.
This is relatively thick but very compact. This is super thin but super spread out. So I agree that it's more than this, but I'm not as confident. Okay.
And now.
Okay, now I'm done. I'm out.
And then you're out. So I'm out. I'm done. Our last card is this one.
I don't.
We have a giant circle.
I don't know about giant.
But
it's there. It's a circle. It's definitely round.
The center of it is covered.
The center is circle. The center is silver and blue, and then there's the other circle which is teal. So,
if you were to cut it and stretch it out, I think it would probably
make it a line. Like
make it a line.
Yeah.
I think it would cover the entirety length of the card. If you brought this out, and brought that out and recentered, I think it would be a thick line along the whole top of the card.
I guess so. Sure. Okay, so that would...
And if that being the case, I think it is more than 2.
So you think it is either second most or most?
Yes.
Okay.
But that number 1 is a lot of pink.
It's...
I think number 1 still has the most pink.
Okay, we have 1 vote for a new number 2.
Yes, I agree with that.
You think that it's number 2?
I think it also goes into number 2.
You think this has more?
Yes.
Okay, let's apply the Walker position here. How many times would we have to double this up to get to the thickness of this? I'd say about 2.5.
Yes.
This is about 2.5 times the thickness of this, roughly.
Roughly.
Okay. So, is there enough for this to make a line back and forth across?
I think just the outside line alone, not even counting the 2 additional rows in the middle.
Yeah, the stuff in the middle
is almost the same as that 1 circle.
So you think this is number 1? You disagree with chat. You think this is number 1?
No, this is number 1. I think this line here.
No. Chat thinks. So far, we have a couple votes to say that this is number 2. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm yes, quite right. Okay. So everyone so far is in agreement.
Yes.
Okay, sure. I agree. See, this is great. One of the great things about doing these games in chat is it's less my fault.
So
Any disagreement? Anyone think that this doesn't belong in number 2? Like we're locked into the previous decisions.
So the only card that we're allowed to manipulate now is the card that we just drew. So even though we've placed there, we can still move that last card. We just can't move the rest. Now this is all happening because we happen to pick pink, but we could have been ordering green or silver or another one of the cards.
In which case, we presumably would have ordered them different because no way that blue is
so
more
you can
prevalent
see
here
that,
than it is
we
there.
have these choices because it's pink, but it could be totally different choices based on the colors. It's really well done.
Okay, so there's a fair degree of unanimity about the ordering now. And now the thing is we have to determine our confidence interval. We have to use one of these chips, and these are bonus points if we are entirely correct. If we are at all wrong, we don't get it. I am inclined to go for the 5. Why?
I agree.
Because here's the thing.
With our experience,
Yes.
this has been pretty good.
Yeah, because very frequently it's like a nightmare of complete... So these are vaguely incommensurate much of the time. Like this is utterly incommensurate with this. This is a circle. This is a whole bunch of jagged lines. But, this comparison is trivial. And this comparison is relatively trivial as well. Again, the thicknesses are such they break down. Please, you're going to be distracted.
I'm just showing them. We could get things like this.
Yes, absolutely.
And just so you know, we're going to flip them over, and on the back, it'll tell us the percentages. So we'll be able to...
You're ruining the prestige.
We'll know
There's going to be a whole reveal.
There is, but I just want to know...
That's when we're going to do the whole fireworks.
Okay.
You have no sense of showmanship. Anyway, yes, so how can I be so uncertain but still be in favor of using the most certain number? Again, that is just in comparison to the torturous nonsense that Figment has subjected us to before. So yeah, let's go with the 5.
And then, like I said, we get to choose which side we want to go from. I think we should go from this right side. Because the only one... This is the only part where... this is where I'm the most nervous, these 3. All right.
I'm much more confident about these 2.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to proceed from this direction over to this direction. If you have any objections, feel free to scream in the chat, but I think that this is probably the safest way to go about doing things. Again, this is a bit of a leg up. Like, this with pink was a gimme. If it had been any other color, except for silver, if that had been blue or teal, we'd be in serious trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of it, but it's tough to tell how many. All right, so let's get started. Let's get to it. Strike a pose. There's nothing to it. Vogue. So, 1%. 1%, Walker.
1% was
1%,
magenta. That's
1%
good.
was magenta. So that's a pretty good start.
It's a good start.
Do you think that's a pretty good start? All right. Let's go here. 4%. Also pretty good.
Yep.
So yeah, it gives you the full breakdown of all of them. This is... See here, imagine having to parse between a 35% and a 32%. The game makes you do stuff like that all the time.
Well, there's 33 and 35 right there.
18%. Okay, that's a bit of a jump.
So we need this to be higher than 18.
We want this to be higher than 18, but presumably not too high, because then we might be in trouble for the last one. 29. Okay, so for us to win this round, so far we've got a perfect run going. For us to win this round, this has to be 30% or higher. What? Sometimes you like to guess the number, Walker.
I do like to guess the percentage. That is going to come in at 33%.
33? You think it's that close?
Yeah.
Okay. It is 31. We made it with a 2% margin. That is awesome.
I knew it all along.
No, you didn't. Stop. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen a round go this well, frankly, especially when there's like 1 to 4, 4 to 18, no problem. 18 to 29, no problem again. But 29 to 31. Anyway, thanks for your assistance, chat. You were correct in helping us sustain that. So we get 1 point for every card in the sequence we were correct.
Yeah, had we got one wrong, we'd immediately stop. The one that we were wrong on would go out. And any ones that were right before that, we'd get as points.
So if this had been the situation, we would have gotten 2 points. But because we got all 5, we get all 5. And because we got them all, we get to score this token. So we get to score 10 points. Now you might be thinking, 10 points is a pretty good start. Yes and no, because this is one of those co-op games where it's a score attack. And at the end of the rulebook, they neg you. They love to be like, good start for a baby. Are you a baby? I'm exaggerating, but only slightly. Next up, we have blue.
Blue.
Round 2 is blue. What do we got?
We got that.
We got that. Okay. Oh, what is this nonsense?
It's a gumball machine, Mark, you see?
Is it?
And it seems to be broken. Gumballs are falling from everywhere.
Gumballs everywhere. I think this has more than that.
But all of those holes...
You're right.
All of that green takes away the blue.
But circles are big.
That is a big circle, but a lot of it is missing due to the green little circles.
Okay, one of the holes is filled in by this hole.
It is.
So you think there's more blue here?
I didn't say that.
Then what are you doing today?
I'm making sure you're assessing the situation.
You're just relentlessly undermining me. Okay, so what do you think?
I think it has less than the card that's there. I think the new card is number 1.
I think the new card is number 1.
Well, we know we've used the 5.
Okay, so now, let's use the same numbering scheme we used before, where 1 is where we're going from.
All right.
But so you think this has? Sorry, I've lost track.
I believe this is number 5.
You think this is number 5?
I think it has the least amount of blue.
Okay, so this bar...
It's solid.
It's solid. Yeah, okay. Okay.
It's going to be really close.
Okay, all right, I'll give it to you.
Any help?
Yeah, no, so far the chat has been cowed into silence.
Yeah, they don't want to...
They don't want any part of this. They don't want their fingers...
agree with that.
They don't want their fingers over
Look
this
at this.
particular disaster.
You can't even see... Oh, you can see... Okay, the light's better for you guys than it is for us with the silver.
Yeah, that's mostly silver. I think this has the least.
I agree.
Because it's a busted up circle, but it's smaller. Ooh, it might be close though. But I think this has the least. You're inclined to agree?
I agree. Oh, here's this.
What?
We started with the cards, Mark. This next card. Look at this.
Oh no. Oh my goodness. See, this is why I was in favor of the 5. This is why I was in favor of the 5 last time. Not just because I was right, but what are we supposed to...
Wait, what color is that even?
It's all the colors, and it's none of the colors, and it's hurting my head. Okay, so this part is mostly teal.
So the bottom right corner is the blue.
Yeah, so over here it's top left for chat. Oh boy. So there's blue here. Well, there's blue everywhere. A little bit. But then there's I think that even if you stack them all up, there's not going to be a whole lot. I think this is the least.
I think so. Let me see it closer here.
I have to believe that based on...
So you try to remove everything and you squish it.
Yeah, if you squish it all together...
And then you take these and you squish it and you slide it together. Yep. It's going to create this hole, but it's just going to be... I think it's
a little dense square over there. Yeah, we think this has the least. Yeah, I can't help but notice that you fine people were more inclined to voice your opinions when it
was easy. We'll all play when it's easy.
I can't blame you. I'd like to absent myself from this round too, but here we are.
Here we are.
Oh, now we get to the polka dots. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if we mash them all together, they. What? Come on, Walker, help me out here. This is far more similar to past experience we had in round 1 was not representative at all.
This is a standard round of Figment.
This is normal.
I would say a 4.
You think this is 4?
Maybe.
So you think this is the second least?
Second least.
So you'd put it here. You think there's more blue here than... Okay, I'm okay with that, but there's more blue here than there. Oh, jeez. I have... We've got 1 vote for 5. And we've got 1 vote for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are small dots.
I mean, look at the dots. How many of the dots are covered by other dots?
Yeah,
There's another thing to look at. There are a few, not many.
A lot of the dots are covered.
Oh, no, very few of the dots are covered.
I don't know, man. Good point. They're mostly up on top. I just can't parse. I'm having such eyeballing how much this is going to be when it's all densified up. We have 2 votes for 5.
All right, let's move it to 5.
We're going to move it to
I'm
5.
leaning towards that way now.
Okay, you're leaning towards 5? All right.
And I think we should definitely start on the left this time.
Yeah, we should go from here down instead of here up.
And how confident are we?
So we can't use the 5 again, not that we'd be inclined to.
No.
I'm going to say 2.
All right.
This is probably going to be our last round, but if we were playing a full game, we'd want to pace it out a little bit better. Because I think it can get worse. That's why I'd save the 1, but I don't think it merits a 3 or a 4.
Agreed.
Okay? All right. Let's dance. We're ready.
We're ready.
Now begins the great suffering. Oh, 23%. That's not a great start.
No, it's great. It's great. This
Is
gonna,
it?
Yep. This is going to be...
Okay, what I find fascinating is there's the same amount of pink as there is blue. I would not have guessed that.
This next one's going to be 17% blue.
Oh, you don't want the interesting observation. You just want to
I
press right on into the
agree.
pain.
I agree.
It's going to be 17%, you say?
17% blue.
How about 28% blue?
That's higher.
That's higher. So we get 1 point for this round.
How do we do with the rest?
I'm a 28%. This has 5% more than this. See, I tried Walker.
You did. You were right.
You bullied me into submission.
You were right. I was wrong. It just didn't seem like
Peer
that much
pressure
blue.
triumphs again.
All of that shotgun green. I just thought all the blue was gone.
But circles are big, and they get bigger. The embiggening accelerates. These are
embiggening.
geometric terms. The embiggening accelerates as the embiggening progresses.
See, if you had said embiggening when you talked about it, it would have swayed me.
I have tried using technical vocabulary with you before, and it has never worked.
All right.
My confidence interval using technical terms... All right, let's just see what the rest of it is. This was 16, so while
See, it would have been great with my 17. If the card just said what I said it was supposed to say, we'd be fine.
Yeah, if you take away one thing from this, take away that circles are big. All right. 10%. 10% of that card is blue?
Apparently.
Are you kidding me? I find that very difficult to believe. My goodness, that's 10% blue? Wild. Wild. I know that circles are big, but usually the lines aren't. Okay. And this was 9. Had we gone the other direction,
1%. We did. We got within 1% correct.
Yeah, we got the 1% margin correct. We got this difference correct.
Yeah.
1% difference. Polka dots versus the weirdest slivers of paint.
But not the 5%.
Not the 5% margin. This we got correct, but this we got wrong. I'm disgusted. This is a terrible way to end a broadcast.
All right.
How are we supposed to end this note?
Well, we're going to have to end it. We blew it.
I can't.
We went from getting 10 points to getting 2 points.
No, 1 point.
1 point. All right. We are so very wrong about games. Again.
Wow. Very wrong. Very wrong.
We have a weekly podcast.
Every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. BST, we have a podcast where we talk about games. It's more or less the same structure, although less playing games with you, the dear watchers. Thank you so much for joining us.
On the quick note about playing the games, I am on here every Saturday playing games under our channel as well.
Yeah, we have a Twitch channel as well, so Very Wrong About Games. Check us out. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your help in playing games. We really appreciate you hanging out with us, and we hope to see you again soon. Check us out.
Peace!
Bye, everyone.